Everyone wants to be like, oh, scale, oh, lead gen, oh, hire people, but none of that works unless you actually have this framework in place. Because if you do, and these systems don't exist, everything seems to crumble back and you end up back in the same spot over and over again. Even if you had the money to pay someone to do it, without the system, you can't actually unlock the opportunity to buy your time. Most of the money-making stuff is in your brain. While it lives in your brain, you can never delegate it. This is what's gonna be the big unlock, and this is where most people fail. Most people are just like, okay, click here, now click there, now do this.
Okay, double click on my computer.
I can see your computer.
No. Click on my computer on your computer.
How can I click on your computer from my computer?
Living their lives. We just living their lives. Parking plots, living their lives. We just living their life.
So what I've found is, through my coaching experience, the building of systems is the things that people hate the most, but are the most thankful that they built in the end. Everyone wants to be like, oh, scale, oh, lead gen, oh, hire people, but none of that works unless you actually have this framework in place. Because if you do, and these systems don't exist, everything seems to crumble back and you end up back in the same spot over and over again. And so this is actually the most important part about taking yourself from kind of that solo or small team into building a bit of a bigger company. So the reason I write buy back your time is when you have this stuff in, that is actually what this unlocks. It's right now, you have to put in all the energy and the effort to everything that you're doing. Not having a system and not being able to delegate this work that you're stuck with or that you're not good at. Even if you had the money to pay someone to do it, without the system, you can't actually unlock the opportunity to buy your time. All right, so there's 4 parts. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. So you need to do 4 things to get the system done. You need to define what you suck at. Then you need to understand what's going on in your day-to-day. Like, what are you actually doing? And then in order to actually put it into a system, you actually need to define what great looks like, and then you can build your system. So when I started my business, what I typically experienced was a very ego-driven, very like, I need to be the best. I need to be better than everybody at everything inside the company, or else it's a failure. That was actually a critically incorrect way to look at things. In fact, being self-aware on the stuff that you're terrible at will help you get rid of those things, because what I've found through my experience is like taking yourself from a 7 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 has actually way more profound, scalable impact on your business. Whereas taking something that you're maybe a 2 or a 3 out of 10 and getting yourself to a 5 out of 10 on it doesn't have that much impact and doesn't take away the stress and anxiety of the tasks that you're not good at. So first you need to understand what you're actually doing. So a lot of people don't spend the time to sit down and understand, what am I actually doing with my time? So first thing you need to do is list everything that you do. So look at your calendar for the last month. I want you to write down every single thing that you do. And so that can be anything from send follow-up email to sales prospects. So this list should be pretty big. It should be at least 30 tasks long. And you should usually look at like a 1 month range of time, because that'll give you a pretty good perspective on like the range of stuff that you're actually doing in that period.
Yep.
And then what you're going to do once you've got that big giant list is you're going to organize them and you're going to assign them. So there's a couple ways that we do. So we're going to create a table with 4 columns, and some people may have seen this exercise before. This changed my life. The 4 columns are $1, $10, $100, and $1,000. And those dollar values are relative to how much impact those tasks have on your business. You know, a $1 task could be something like researching a new bookkeeping software, or it could be, you know, looking up a conversion from US to Canadian dollars, right? But a $1,000 task could be, you know, for me, my $1,000 tasks are being on sales calls. And I know that me being the face of strategic conversations is also a call. So those are my $1,000 tasks. What you then want to do is take a look at your $1 and your $10 tasks. So all the stuff where you're like, okay, these things need to be done, but they're not having a big impact on the business's growth or the business's sustainability. And then what you want to do is you want to group them together. So typically those can group into, you know, following up on stuff, chasing down stuff, project management, etc. And so what you can do is when you put them into those buckets, so, you know, you can look at that bucket and then go back to the things that you know that you suck at and look and figure out which group it is that you're going to do the worst at. Before you can actually build a system, you need to define excellence. You need to define what great looks like. Most companies who are like sub $10 million a year never bother to do this. And I think it's one of the most critical exercises you can do. One thing that you'll note, whether you're going to bring on an employee or a subcontractor or whoever, no one likes being told what to do, right? We all have this like automatic rejection in our body when someone's like, do this. Why? Because I said so. And they're like, ugh, that's natural and that doesn't go away. And so if you can create this document in the right way, it helps people understand the why. And when people have a why, they push back less on the what. So what this document should look like is, I just do it in Google Docs. It should be like 4 to 7 pages in total, and it should only have 3 columns in it. So I'll give you an example of like how I do this. So if I'm talking about, everything that's involved in my company, it's like, person discovers the brand. Well, how do they do that, right? It might be through a podcast. Okay, then what happens? Then they come to the website. And what's going to happen? They're going to read it. So if they sign up and they say, let's talk to me, what needs to happen, right? So what happens when people fill out forms on a website? They get this automatic feeling like, is anyone going to respond? Like what? I don't know what's going to happen, right? And so what I like to do on the agency side is, hey, thanks for your inquiry. Someone from our team will get in touch with you within 24 hours. In the meantime, if you want to like watch this YouTube video, it'll help you understand this, or like give them something to do. Give them the feeling of like, oh, I know what's going to come next. And from the time, I talk to them from a sales thing, from the time that they say, heck yeah, I want to work with you. What happens, right? What is that onboarding experience? What is that process? So you got to write down every single thing, every single action that happens. Write those all down in column 1. And then in the second column, for each one, you're going to write a sentence or 2 about what does an amazing customer experience look like. And here's the most important part. For each of those, what the amazing experience looks like, in the third column, you need to write down why. And this isn't why you want it done this way. It's why it's important to this potential customer or to this customer who's onboarding. So now we're going to build the system. Now, this is where a lot of people freeze up and they're like, okay, well, I need this software. And then I need to like have this super perfect documentation in this book and this whatever. And like, it's not what you need. Done is better than good even. Even your first round of this is going to be crap. And that's okay. It's never going to happen on the first try. I can tell you from experience. So you go back to the excellence doc. So we've got, this list of, from discovery of us to seeing the site, to the sales, to the onboarding. So we've got, let's call it 30, 35 items in this list, right? What we need to do is just write them down in a Google Doc. And then what you want to do is create a separate Google Doc. So 30 individual docs that are just named whatever that task is. And then create a link from that line item to the Google Doc. So if you click on the link, it goes to a blank Google Doc right now. So that is going to be the entire infrastructure of your standard operating procedures in your company. It's 31 pages or whatever it is of Google Docs, but it's all with one table of contents page. That pro tip is use Notion because I love everything about it. It's a fantastic. You can do it. You can keep it as simple as we're talking about here and put it into Notion. Absolutely. All right. So now you're going to say, well, I don't know how to, I don't know how to walk someone through a process. It's all in my head. And so this is actually the big problem. Most of the money-making stuff is in your brain. And while it lives in your brain, you can never delegate it. Because even if someone's sitting beside you and you're, I'll use air quotes around the word training them, it's never going to work. Because when you start explaining something to someone, think about steps 1 through 10. Your natural function is going to start at number 4 because 1, 2, and 3, it's like, dude, I've been doing that every day. Those are so automatic to you. It's very hard for you to go back and access that as a step. So what this next exercise is going to do is to help you take this process and this knowledge out of your brain and put it into documentation. Okay.
Gotcha.
So what you need to do first is close your computer. I want you to take out your phone and hit the record button. And I want you, in your own words, to explain a process. So pretend like person sitting across the room from you looking at their computer. And I want you to dictate into your phone, okay, first you open this, and then you go here and you do this, and then you do this, and da, 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 da. So whatever you think the process is, I want you to voice dictate that into your phone. Don't look at a computer, just record it based on your recollection. Then what I want you to do is open your computer back up. I want you to replay that recording, and I want you to follow the steps in the recording exactly as they are. So no intuition, no, oh yeah, well, it said that, but I know it's this. No. You should only follow the steps that you've recorded. You can never make assumptions, and you can never use what's in your head. You have to go literally verbatim how you've done it. And then once you actually feel like you've got this down, what I want you to do is start up a Loom video, because the video output of this is actually going to be the most impactful. And I want you to go through and record the process, but I want you to talk through every single step. And more than that, I want you to talk through what variables in your mind are allowing you to make these decisions. So pretend like someone is sitting beside you and you're giving them the inside scoop and that extra knowledge and that extra depth, so that that person will have that knowledge, because they wouldn't unless you say it out loud. When you can do that into a video recording, this now starts to form a system where somebody who doesn't know the process, who doesn't know how you want it done, can come in and not only see the step-by-step, but understand how you think about it, why you think about it, and all the variables. This is what's going to be the big unlock, and this is where most people fail. Most people are just like, hey, on their Loom video, okay, now click here, now click there, now do this. Like, that doesn't actually help someone understand your thinking and your process. And so really over articulate.
And it's a deep training. And this is what actually Ryan, our head of PPC guy, we were doing for the past couple of weeks. We're actually making a PPC, Amazon PPC training videos. And instead of him just doing a Loom on his own, we're both together on a Zoom call recording it. And I'm like, okay, Ryan, take me through your steps and your thought process of everything. Now, I'm not a PPC expert, and so I was even able to ask questions that I might have not understand, as I'm a good PPC guy, but not a total expert. And so, yeah, it was an hour long to set up the first initial PPC campaigns. But after that, I was like, whoa, we're going to be able to send that to any junior or PPC beginner, and they're going to know, that's the best training video I've ever, I've ever seen. And so, yeah, I totally know what you mean.